Okay, very happy good afternoon, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to meet you through the online mode, and this is my first class for the allied paper in your third semester, L3AO3 Shakespeare. And for this paper, I am a co-course teacher along with Mr. V. Shanmugavel, and I will be dealing with the first unit. And most of you might be aware of the portions as well as the syllabi of this course. And for this course, I'll be meeting you for the first unit, as I already told you. And before we get into the syllabi, I think it is better to give you an overview of the Elizabethan era or the Elizabethan age, so that you would have a better understanding of the Shakespearean plays. And if you have any questions, if it is a very important clarification, you can stop me in the middle of my class and you can raise your doubt. Or if you think you can reserve your question till the end of the class, it is well and good. Make a note of it in your notepad and then ask the question in the end of the session. Is it okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, please turn off your mic and you can keep your videos on. And if you want to have any question in the middle of the class, you just raise your, just post it in the chat box, or you can immediately you can ask your doubts itself. That won't be a problem for me. Shall we get into the class now? Okay. I will be dealing with one tragedy, that is Macbeth, and another one is The Merchant of Venice. So one is a tragedy, another one is a comedy, for which, for understanding any literary text, it is very important or mandatory for all students to know the background information or the social history or the cultural backdrop or the political backdrop of any particular period in literary history. So in this context, I think it is imperative or mandatory to share with you the features of the Elizabethan era. Let us begin with the Elizabethan period, which is called as the golden period in British history. And the name Elizabethan era comes from none other than the Queen Elizabeth I, who was none other than the daughter of King Henry VIII. And she was the ruler during the Elizabethan era. That is why the name was given to her. And she ruled England for 45 years. That is between 1558 to 1603. So that is why we called Queen Elizabeth to be the longest ruler of England. That is between, once again I repeat, that is between 1558 to 1603. So during that period, it was also known as the golden period or the golden age because of the achievements made during the Queen's regime. And some facts about the Queen will be interesting for you. As I already told, she was born from King Henry VIII, and the Queen's name was Anne Boleyn, Boleyn. She was born to Queen Anne Boleyn, Boleyn, and the king's name, King Henry VIII. Her mother was beheaded. She was killed when she was a baby because the queen was accused of charges of adultery and incest. Adultery and incest, you may be aware that having extramarital affairs, it is called as adultery. And during the period of the Queen, that is Queen Elizabeth, there was an increase in literacy rate. People started studying a lot. People realized the importance of education and they started enrolling themselves in schools and colleges. And at that period, people showed greater interest in joining subjects related to fine arts. And the Queen Elizabeth, as a child itself, she was very intelligent and she mastered several languages, including Latin, Spanish, Welsh, and French. And regarding Elizabethan literature, when we come to the part of literature was extremely important during this time because literature flourished in all genres, prose, poetry, and drama. Literature simply flourished, and it was a form of entertainment as well as a form of education. And as we are all aware, the two important aspects to be focused on Elizabethan literature are Romanticism and realism. During the Elizabethan era, literature focused on Romanticism and realism. As far as Romanticism is concerned, literature during this period focused more on philosophical and artistic writing. And realism, on the other hand, focused on day-to-day affairs of everyday life, the common life of everyday period, right? So Elizabethan literature consists of two components. One is Romanticism and idealism. Romanticism, as I told you, what is Romanticism? It focused on philosophical and artistic writing. And realism, on the other hand, talks about day-to-day life and day-to-day affairs. So these are the two things which are predominantly found during the Elizabethan period. And during the Elizabethan period, prose did not flourish, but poetry and drama flourished a lot. They formed the major parts of writings. So Elizabethan era was marked with new productions of poems and plays. Many people literally enjoyed, they relished watching the plays from theaters such as the Globe Theatre, which you may be already aware of, in which Shakespeare has acted and later Shakespeare owned the theatre. And Shakespeare's sonnets were also equally famous. Sonnets were the form of poetry, most commonly used with 14-line structure, and it was very popular during the Elizabethan period. As I mentioned about the Globe Theatre, and I want to show you a PPT, I want to share with you a PPT, and after the end of the class also, I will share with you. Now let me share a screen. You can pin my screen, so that you can see the PPT better. Is the PPT visible now? Students, anyone? Is the PPT visible?
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is the structure of the Globe Theatre, and you can see that is the bottom or the ground level, that is for the poor or ordinary common class people. You can see a small structure in which people are sitting, the actors were seated or standing, and there is a yellow color projected here. You can see there is this is a projection in which the actors used to act. Can you see the arrow mark? Can you see the mouse cursor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the place the actors used to act. And these are the retiring rooms. The doors you can see, there are the retiring rooms are here. Pillars will be here. And actors are supposed to act in this kind of raised platform. And surrounding this platform, you can see there is an empty space, the ground space. This is the space meant for ordinary people who paid only a shilling. This is just like 1 paisa. And that is the lowest amount of charge they used to collect from people. And these people are called as groundlings. Ground plus LINGS, groundlings. So they are supposed to sit in the ground. That is why they are called as groundlings. They have to sit around this platform. They have to sit on the sand, and then they can watch the play. And the first level cost is a penny or a shilling, that is more, and had seats. Next is, you can see the lower structure. They will charge a penny, more than a shilling. Shilling is for groundlings, and then they will charge penny or more for these gallery-like structures. You can see the galleries here. These are some gallery-like structures, and for which they charged a penny or more. And they had seating positions also. You can see some chairs and tables here, or seats like that in a gallery in which they can sit. And the second level you can see was for rich and royalty, and the seats were cushioned. So as you can see, the facilities will be more and more available for the rich people. And this chamber, that is, which is close to the stage, like you can see in the screen, this is meant for royalty, lords, queens, or kings, so that they can have a very close view of the performance of the stage. This is a model of the Globe Theatre, which was quite famous during the period of Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, as well as which coincides with the period of William Shakespeare, right? So that is why we called Elizabethan period as well as Shakespeare's period. Now we come to the hero of this unit, that is this course, William Shakespeare. Just some few important facts about Shakespeare. As you are already aware, he was born and died on the same day and month. Only the years were different. He was born on 1564, April 23rd, and died on the same day and month, but on 1616. At the age of 18, he married Annie Hathaway, who was much senior to him. And he was one of the few lucky boys to attend the English grammar school, which taught them the basic English language skills along with grammatical rules, which were mostly Greek and Latin. That is why in the earlier method of learning grammar, it was called as grammar translation method. Later, Shakespeare, as a young man, started working as an actor and a playwright when he was in his teenage group. Shakespeare's writings were very famous according only to two categories. One is for his sonnets, another one is for his plays. Historians believe that majority of Shakespeare's writings were not published and some were lost forever. The things or the plays we got were only 37 plays in total and 154 sonnets. So his plays were generally grouped into three different categories called tragedies, comedies, and histories. These were the common criteria in which we group Shakespeare's plays. And as you can see, Elizabethan age, I told you, literature flourished during that period. Along with that, Elizabethan art flourished in all other forms also, in the forms of sculptures, paintings, and music. Apart from writing, we also have a great flourishment in these three areas. So art form started advancing. Much of the artwork, craft work had been with textiles, cloth industries, weavings, and tapestry. But you have to understand that is, during the period of Queen Elizabeth, there was economic advancements and flourishments. That is why from colonies or colonial countries like India, we started exporting so much of cotton to Britain, and British industries started processing that cotton, and they started producing textiles using many industries. With these industries, the clothes were prepared and they were sent back again to the colonial countries like India, and they were sold here for a much greater price. That is why India's economy was swindled by the British colonial rule. That is why Indian farmers suffered. They worked very hard to produce the cotton, but the cotton was exported to Britain and it was converted into textiles, cloths, and it came back to India for sale. And stone, silver, and wood industries also flourished, and they were made used for making sculptures. And Queen Elizabeth was a connoisseur of all arts, and she loved. Connoisseur means very choosy. CHOOSY, connoisseur, CONNOISEUR. Connoisseur means very choosy and very careful in choosing things. One who is having a great taste is called as a connoisseur. It is a French word. Connoisseur means one who is very choosy about anything. I used to refer to this word. In eating, I always prefer to be a connoisseur. Connoisseur means I prefer having only a rich food or a healthy food or a tasty food. Instead, I prefer, if the food is not available, I prefer starving. I won't take it. I won't compromise with the quality. That is the term called connoisseur. That is an example for the usage of connoisseur. So Queen Elizabeth was a connoisseur in art. Right. And the Elizabethan society. Social classes and rankings were a huge part of society during the Elizabethan era. The royal people, the lords and nobles were the highest ranked people. As in India, please remember, throughout the world, there are class differences, there are social differences. And please, as students, please understand there is only a major division. As far as I am personally concerned, there are only two classes in the entire world. One is haves, another one is have-nots. To be simple, rich versus poor. Those who have and those who have not, those who don't have. Haves and have-nots are the major divisions. And according to the Elizabethan society, we have merchant classes, labor classes, and they begin to grow in rank and sizes. The merchant classes became extremely important during the Elizabethan era, and one such beautiful example can be found in the play The Merchant of Venice. What are the social pastime activities? As students, please remember, there is no English term called time pass. Right? Many students, maybe you may be already using the word called time pass, right? Am I right? You are very familiar to use the word time pass. But there is no word called time pass in English. There is only a word called pastime activity. So remember, use the word pastime instead of time pass. Don't use time pass as a casual term. Pastime activity is the correct usage. So what are the pastime activities available for the Elizabethan social classes? Festivals were held, so many tournaments were held, games were held, plays. People, I told you, people had a great craze for watching plays, as we had a craze to watch newly released movies, right? We have a craze for our own favorite heroes and heroines. So we tried to watch movies. At those times, they had a creation of watching plays in theaters, and that was a great entertainment for them. And I mentioned about the term called tournaments and games. These tournaments are called as fighting tournaments, included fencing and bull baiting. And these tournaments also came from, not from, they do not originate from England, but they originate from the Roman backdrop. You might be very aware of the films like Gladiator. How many of you have seen the movie Gladiator? Has anyone seen the movie Gladiator? It has won more than 10 Oscar awards, and it is about the tournaments. Tournaments I refer to, that means fights between human versus lions and tigers. Ferocious wild animals will be released in the ground. People will be sitting in a gallery. There's a gallery-like structure, as we have seen in the Globe Theatre. It is a full oval-shaped gallery, and in the ground, animals will be released in the ground. Slaves have to fight against those animals, and they have to win the fight in order to survive. If they fail to kill the animal will kill them. The animal will kill him, and the tournaments is lost for the human being. That is the idea. So such cruel tournaments were held during that period. It was quite common. From this, you try to watch the movie Gladiator if you have some time. I think during the locked up period, you have so much of free period. As a pastime activity, try to watch the movie called Gladiator. Right. You can see the wonderful fight scene sequences, and it has won more than 10 Oscar awards also. It is a beautiful movie. Try to enjoy. And coming back to the Elizabethan era, so tournaments like fencing. Fencing means sword fights, right? And bull baiting. People used to throw spears on the bulls. It's a cruel and inhuman act, but it was quite, these activities were quite famous during the Elizabethan era. And then politics. We have seen the social backdrop, We have seen the political backdrop, we have seen literary backdrop. Now we come to the political backdrop. England was ruled by a monarchy during the Elizabethan era, and the Queen and the Parliament controlled the judicial system. The law enforcement authorities were controlled by both the Queen and the Parliament. Most of the members in the Parliament were the supporters or the elected members of the Queen herself, and naturally they controlled the judicial system in a strong hold. And how the country was run, it was purely by the Queen and the Parliament. The Parliament system consists of two houses. They were called, please make a note, House of Lords and the House of Commons. And Indian parliamentary system is a typical example of this system, that is having the House of Lords and House of Commons. Can any student tell me what are the two houses we have in the Indian parliamentary system? One of you can unmute your mic. Yeah,
Lok
Rajya
Sabha and
Sabha.
Rajya Sabha.
Beautiful. Who is it? Whenever you speak, tell your name and you give your answer. I am just presenting my screen so that I cannot see you. Yeah, who is that?
Ramya Bharati, sir.
Ramya Bharati, very good. So we have two houses in our parliamentary system. One is Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. The same system, it was actually copied from the British parliamentary system. We did not create Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha on our own creativity. It was just a copy from the British parliamentary system, the House of Lords and the House of Commons. The terminologies were Sanskritized or Hindi accents were given, and they were called as House of Lords was called as Rajya Sabha, and House of Commons is called as Lok Sabha. It is a house of people. That is the system we also follow in India, right? And the Parliament came up with the majority of the laws, and the Queen also approved the laws. The Queen has to give approval for the laws that were enacted and passed in the British Parliament. The Queen is the ultimate authority, and she withheld the power to approve as well as to reject the laws passed in the Parliament. This is the political backdrop. And now we move on to the religious backdrop during the Elizabethan period. During the period of Queen Elizabeth, Puritanism, as the word itself suggests, they want to have a pure kind of religion. Christianity has to be established, and that is called as Puritanism. They implemented strict laws and rules to be followed by the people who visit the churches. Visiting the church on Sundays, the Sabbath day, is made mandatory. People had to visit the church. And what happened is they accepted the Protestant Reformation, and this acceptance and this change of Puritanism as well as the Protestant Reformation, it took a huge toll on the Elizabethan era. The Roman Catholic Church had been outlawed, rejected, and several laws and provisions were made that dealt with church and religion. So Roman Catholic Church slowly lost its hold, and Puritanism and Protestant Reformation took a toll on the Elizabethan period. So it was illegal to attend a Catholic service. It was also known as a mass. People were even fined if anybody was found attending those meetings. So you have to attend compulsorily a church service at least once in a month, if not possible in every weekend. People are supposed to attend the church meetings at least once in a month. All the festivals were held based on the church calendar. And why do we need this kind of religious backdrop to understand the Elizabethan period or Shakespeare? Please remember, unless you are aware of the social, religious, and political backdrop of any period or any literary age, you cannot enjoy reading or understanding any literary text. Please remember, literature is very closely associated with society, religion, and politics. politics is also important because it is intertwined. Literature is intertwined with various factors, even geographical factors, even pandemics, like the pandemic we are facing right now, the COVID pandemic. Everything is interrelated. So that is why it is imperative on the part of any literature student to have a thorough or a clear understanding about social, political, and religious backdrop of any age to understand a text better, to get a better understanding of the text. Why did Shakespeare write like this? Why did he choose to write a play like The Merchant of Venice? Why did he choose to write a play like Macbeth? What was the backdrop information? What motivated him? What kindled him to write those plays? That can be gained by having an understanding of these background information. So I told you Elizabethan era flourished in economic conditions and was known for many new scientific inventions and discoveries in especially fields like physics and astrology. Sir Isaac Newton, a famous physicist, was born in this time period. And Sir Francis Drake circumnavigated the entire world in his ship. He was the first man from the European continent who circumnavigated, means he went through the globe and had a full travel or through the globe. Superstitions such as stirring a pot counterclockwise and spilling salt were part of everyday lives. They considered to be superstitious beliefs. Even in Tamil context, in the Indian context, we also have so many superstitious beliefs, like not to lend a needle to others, not to lend salt to others at a particular time period, right? People used to say after 6 o'clock, after the light is being lit, we are not supposed to lend anything to the neighbors, right? People used to say like this. They also had so many superstitions. Don't think that Indians alone have many superstitions and Western people are far more advanced in science. Look at the contrast here. People were advanced in scientific discoveries. At the same time, superstitions also flourished side by side. You can see people started eating their main course of meal at 11 o'clock and they had their meals even lasting for 3 hours every day. They used to have a very elaborate kind of meal every day. These were some important or interesting facts I would like to share with you. That is what I shared. And now coming back to the Elizabethan period, I also have a few more information to share with you. Shakespeare as a writer needs no introduction at all, since he is world famous and he is a classical dramatist. Classical dramatist, I mean that not like a Greek or Roman dramatist, but his works stand the test of time. Classic is a word which refers to very ancient or old literary texts, usually referring to the Greek literature or the Roman literature. But classics also refer to pieces of art or works of art which are not only ancient and old, but are also having values even in the present situation. They stand the test of time. What do you mean by standing the test of time? Time cannot wither them. Even after 2000 years, Tirukkural is very relevant for all of us. How is it possible? Because of its values. It was written before 2000 years, but the ideas or the values expressed in Tirukkural are relevant in 2020. After 2020 years or 2100 years, we find Tirukkural to be still relevant and useful. This kinds of literature, these pieces of art are called as classical works of art, which stand the test of time. Now, let me share with you a few important other facts about Renaissance. Just a quick recap, and I will just add some more points also. English Renaissance, as I told you, it is a cultural and artistic movement. Remember two things I told about, two important literary aspects. What are they? One is Romanticism, another one is Realism. So English Renaissance. Renaissance is a word which originated with Europe. It originated in Italy. Make a note of this important idea. Renaissance originated in Italy first and then spread throughout Europe. and then came to England in a much later period during early 16th and 17th centuries. So in the late part of 16th century, English Renaissance started and it remained up to 17th century. It was closely associated with European Renaissance. I will give the spelling for the word Renaissance: RENAISSANCE. Renaissance is a word which refers to revival of, or the word renewal or rebirth. Renaissance means rebirth. Rebirth means revival of the classics. That is, I told you about the Greek and Latin. It is a revival of the learning of the classical works of art. That period is called as the English Renaissance. I told you Renaissance originated in Italy and later came to England during the later half of 16th century and early 17th century. Basically, it was an European Renaissance. It was a cultural and artistic movement. Renaissance is a cultural and artistic movement. So please bear this mind about Renaissance movement. Next slide. I'm just moving to the next information. I told you English Renaissance is closely associated with William Shakespeare as well as Queen Elizabeth. Am I audible?
The screen is not visible, sir.
The PPTs I am not sharing. I'm just listen to the lecture now. I will just share the PPT later.
Okay.
Right. I'm just giving a quick recap. And for English Renaissance, during that period I told you, poetry and dramas flourished. Not only William Shakespeare, there are other few playwrights who were quite famous equally to Shakespeare were Ben Jonson and Christopher Marlowe. These are the two important playwrights who were quite famous along with Shakespeare. They were the contemporaries of Shakespeare. I will give the spelling for the names. Ben Jonson, Ben space Johnson, Jonson. There is no H. Jonson. There is another Johnson called Johnson. He is called as Dr. Samuel Johnson in English history. That Dr. Samuel Johnson is none other than he is the compiler or the chief editor of English Dictionary. The father of English Dictionary is Dr. Samuel Johnson. His name will have a H, but Ben Jonson, Jonson. Another contemporary I mentioned about is Christopher Marlowe, Marlowe. So Christopher Marlowe is another important playwright who lived during the time of Shakespeare himself. Poets, as far as poets are concerned, during the period of Shakespeare, Shakespeare himself is a very famous sonneteer. A poet who writes sonnets is called as a sonneteer. Sonneteer. Some other poets who are quite famous or more famous to Shakespeare were Edmund Spenser, Edmund Spenser, Spenser. Another famous writer is John Milton, who is none other than the writer of Paradise Lost. And philosophers like prose writers like we have Sir Francis Bacon, 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 Sir Thomas More, More. There were other famous writers. Poets, Edmund Spenser and John Milton. Prose writers, Sir Francis Bacon and Sir Thomas More. During the Elizabethan period, I told you, there was a quite famous influence in the people's fashion. And remember, even today you might be aware, there is a separate channel called Fashion TV, which the entire fashion of the world will be projected from the point of view of France. France is known for the cradle or the birthplace of all fashion to the entire world from the medieval ages up to the present. Even today, many fashion designers are from France. France is known to be the fashion capital of the world. So, England is also no exception, which followed the French and Spanish styles of dressings. And peoples, I told you, they had many celebrations, and they also had tournaments, fights, games were also conducted. And one important pandemic which happened during the 14th century was called as a plague. Plague is a very contagious disease which spread through Europe, the Middle East countries, even Asia, wiping almost 50% of world's population at the time. Just imagine how plague was quite such a pandemic without any, exactly like the same case of corona. Corona was considered to be a great pandemic, but it didn't have much greater death rate. But plague was usually spread by rats. Rats acted as carriers of the plague, and there are two kinds of plagues. One is called as a bubonic plague, another one is a pneumonic plague. They have different kinds of symptoms in people. Such plagues lasted for centuries, starting from the early 14th century, and the period was called as a period of Black Death. I told you they spread through Europe, Middle East, and Asia, which wiped out almost 50% population of the entire world. And it also spread through traders, because ships were quietly infested with rats, and these rats were carriers of the plague disease, and it spread through many countries and continents. So that is how they also had a pandemic called plague, Plague. It was otherwise called as Black Death. The 14th century Black Death is caused by plague disease. And the bubonic plague, I mentioned about two types of plagues, the bubonic plague and the pneumonic plagues, right? And they were nothing but, the bubonic plagues were called by fleas. We called as a bed bug. And they used to call bubonic plagues, mainly by fleas. And these fleas started spreading the disease called bubonic plagues. It is a bacterial disease. And these fleas also spread the disease to the rats. And when a disease like plague was infected, people experienced high fever, chills, contractions and pain in muscles, internal hemorrhaging, blood leakage in the veins. That is called hemorrhaging. And buboes are nothing but boils, bloody blood and pus filled swellings, boils, கொப்பளங்கள் உள்ள வந்து பிளட்டும் சீலும் சேர்ந்து இருக்கக்கூடிய கொப்பளங்களுக்கு பேர் தான் buboes. That is why those plagues are called as bubonic plagues. And it will appear on the skin above the lymph nodes. நிணநீர் முடிச்சுகள் தமிழ்ல சொல்லுவோம். That is called as the lymph, LYMPH. அந்த நிணநீர் முடிச்சுகள்ல it will infect those lymph nodes and they started bulging, like filled with blood and pus. And people also experienced severe internal bleeding in the internal organs like lungs and rest of the respiratory systems, and there was no medicine for that. And so thousands and millions of people died. And another kind of plague I mentioned about is pneumonic plague. As the word itself is self-explanatory, the pneumonic plague bacterium was even more deadly and fatal than the bubonic plague. It affects directly the respiratory system and there is no cure for it. It caused pneumonia, high fever, high temperature, and people started dying in millions. So these were the two important plagues which infested during the 14th century, which were quite commonly found. And this plague even occurred in England during 1592 to 1593. Remember, the period in which England was affected during the plague was 1592 to 93. 1 year, England was infested with rats and plague. And what happened? Disease spread through air, exactly like the COVID disease. And during this period, Shakespeare reflected about this plague incident in his 2 long narrative poems. And it was because it had a great impact on the people's social lives also. Theaters were all closed. Just like in the Indian situation or the world situation, they closed all the theaters because during the Black Death period. And so I told you, naturally it will reflect on literature also. I will just pass on to some biographical information about Shakespeare now. Shakespeare's father name was John Shakespeare. As I told you, at the age of 18, he married a girl named Annie Hathaway. W-A-Y. A-N-N-E, Annie Hathaway. Hathaway. And in 1594, Shakespeare enrolled himself in a drama theatre group called Lord Chamberlain's Men. Because you have to understand one thing very clearly. Playhouses or acting in dramas or even acting itself, for that matter, even acting itself was not considered to be a decent profession. It was not a respected profession because acting was considered to be immoral profession because of notorious associations with prostitution houses that surrounded the playhouses. So acting was not considered to be a respected profession. So people did not allow the theaters to be constructed in the cities. They wanted the playhouses or the theaters to be moved out of the city, that is the opposite of the river Thames, the other side of the river Thames. So theaters were made to be established only on the other side of the river Thames. On the other side, we have the London city. Theater was not a decent profession. Acting was not a decent profession. Another important thing is, even during Shakespeare's period, women were not allowed to perform on the stage. Girls were not performed. Girls were not allowed to perform. They were not allowed to act on the stages. So what happened to female characters? Can anyone make a guess? Can anyone?
The main character,
Yeah, who's this? Give your name and give your answer.
Sir, Niveda, sir.
Okay, Niveda. Yeah.
Disguise பண்ணாங்க.
Yeah, young teenage boys. They were made to act like girls. Because why do they choose young teenage boys? Because they do not make...
Because their
voice will be effeminate like that, and the chat box, that is the pharynx, will not be broken. It won't be very gruff and loud like my voice, and it will be a very effeminate voice, and that is why they choose young boys to perform the roles of women characters. And another important thing is, I told you acting was not so considered to be a very decent profession, and Shakespeare himself was an actor in a theatrical group called Lord Chamberlain's Men. In those days, before having individual groups having theaters, many lords and noblemen, they used to have separate theater groups in their own houses themselves. And in those houses, there are many groups. Usually, the names of the lords and nobles were given to the troops also. A lord named Chamberlain, Chamberlain, Chamberlain. This Lord Chamberlain had an exclusive theatre group in his own house. And that group was called as Lord Chamberlain's Men. So Shakespeare was one among the actors, and that is why that group was called as Lord Chamberlain's men. Later, separate theatres were built and Shakespeare became the owner of the group theatre. Right. That is the idea of the lords, names of the lords given to the theatrical groups. I told you Shakespeare's had written 37 plays, complete plays, and some of them were incomplete, and most of the plays were divided into three major categories called comedies, tragedies, and histories. And the fourth category, some critics also include a fourth category to it, that is called as romances. And those romances cannot be totally distinctly divided, since they are interrelated with the genres like comedies and histories. Romances coincided with comedies and histories. So we have majority, we have three divisions: comedies, tragedies, and histories. Some of his plays have been made into even films today. They were even quite famous till today. Some comedies of Shakespeare are All Is Well That Ends Well, As You Like It, The Comedy of Errors, Cymbeline, Love's Labour's Lost, Measure for Measure, Merchant of Venice, The Merchant of Venice, The Merry Wives of Windsor, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Much Ado About Nothing, Pericles, 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 The Taming of the Shrew, Shrew, The Taming of the Shrew, The Tempest, Troilus and Cressida, Troilus, Troilus and Cressida, Cressida. Twelfth Night, Two Gentlemen of Verona, The Two Noble Kinsmen, and The Winter's Tale. These are the comedies written by Shakespeare, and for my unit we have one important comedy called The Merchant of Venice, right? And for comedies, as far as comedies are concerned, as I told you, some of you may be already aware of it. Can anyone tell me what are the major components of a comedy? Which play do we call it as a comedy? Can anyone unmute your mic and share with you? Anyone?
Meenakshi sir, Macbeth.
Okay. Comedy. I am talking about comedy. What is an important quality for a comedy play?
Humor, sir.
It contains humor.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Ends with
Give your
Comedy
name.
ends with
Give your
ending,
name.
sir.
Give your answer. Okay.
Jayalakshmi.
Okay.
Comedy ends with a happy ending, sir.
Wonderful. Okay. Happy endings. It is filled with humor. Okay, 2 points. Write down. Make a note of it. One is comedies have humor. Number two, comedies have happy ending. Then come on. Any other qualities? Any other qualities for comedies? Anyone? Okay. Comedies usually deal with lighter themes. They are opposite to serious themes. Comedies deal with lighter themes, issues of lighter importance, not so serious. So, comedies will deal with themes like love conflicts, conflicts in marriages, conflicts in friendship, conflicts between brothers or sisters, family relationship conflicts. And what happens usually in our families, we also have some conflicts, right? Because mainly due to misunderstandings. We misunderstand people. In some context, we misunderstand people, and it may be a role of fate or destiny. Sometimes we need to misunderstand people. So what happens is, such misunderstandings make people get confused, and some relationships are broken. They have clashes in relationships. So such lighter themes are dealt in comedies. Comedies deal with lighter themes. And number two, comedies never have any bloodshed or violence. There won't be much violence or sword fights or deaths. Death will never occur in a comedy. We can never encounter a death or bloodshed in comedies. That is another important feature of a comedy. Right. Another important thing, in the climax of any comedy, we will have a clear resolution of all the conflicts, all the fights, and all the problems. So what happens? People will get reunited. All the problems will be solved in the end. People will be happy. People will have a happy ending. As Niveda mentioned, what happens is usually comedies are marked with happy endings. And another important feature is these happy endings usually have marriage or multiple marriages. We have marriage or marriages. We have so many pairs. And a very quiet or interesting confusion is confusion between lovers. It is a very interesting or a favorite theme of Shakespeare. So what happens? Lovers will have conflicts between themselves. There won't be a single pair. There will be two or three pairs will be there. And what happens? They will have mistaken identities. They will change their dressing style, and they will what happens? Lovers get changed. Midsummer Night's Dream, you can see some fairies will interfere. They will pour the love juice on the eyes of the lovers, and when they wake up, when they see anyone for the first time, they will immediately fall in love. That is called love at first sight. That is called as a love juice, right? And lovers get interchanged. The lady loves loves are interchanged, and there's a confusion. But in the end of all comedies, what happens is all the conflicts are resolved, and what happens is they will have a happy ending. Usually comedies end with happy marriages. That is how comedies end. What is just the opposite for tragedy? I told you about all these points for comedies. You can just give the opposites for tragedies. One by one, give your name and give your answer one by one. I will randomly call you. Okay, Amrita, not one. I have to check whether they are available or not. Just whether they simply joined the class and they may go out, right? Some students may do it. Amrita, not one. Kindly unmute your mic and give the answer. Amrita is not here. That means she has switched on the meeting and then she has gone out. Okay, not to Bhavadarini. Bhavadarini 02.
Sir.
சொல்லுங்க பவதாரணி சொல்லுங்க. What is the common feature you can find in a tragedy? Can you give the opposites for the components I have given for comedies? I have given some characteristic features for comedies. Just think about the opposites and that will be the answer for tragedies. Can you give some points? Bhavadarini, you can speak. நீங்க பேசலாமா? பேசுங்க. பவதாரணி.
Sir.
ஆன்சர் தெரியல. புவனேஸ்வரி சொல்லுங்க.
Sir, the major characters death in the end, sir.
Okay. In endings we come across bloodshed and death in tragedies. Okay, beautiful.
I have a sad ending.
Okay, beautiful. Sad endings. Inge happy endings, and on the other side we have sad endings.
Sad.
Okay, then any other points for tragedies?
Sir, tragedy is built with the darker side.
Tragedies have darker themes. Serious themes were dealt by tragic writers. Serious themes like power mongers, quest for power, how to capture the power like Macbeth. That is how serious themes were dealt in tragedies. Bloodshed was there, warfare was there, killings were there, treacherous acts were there. So serious themes were dealt in tragedies.
Many fights.
Yes, Amirda சொல்லுங்க.
Sir,
Amirda, give
climate
your
not ending seriously pilot. Sir,
சொல்லுங்க.
very fight, sir, not ending climate. Very
Climate,
serious.
serious kind of endings. Okay, good, good. Okay, very good. So these are some qualities for tragedies and comedies. And
Sir,
we come across. Yes,
fall on a man.
I don't get you. Your voice is not clear.
Fall of a man.
Fall of a man, not a fall of a man. That is Paradise Lost. Fall of a great man, not an ordinary man. Yeah, not an ordinary man. It's a not, because please remember, I'm not finding fault with you. Remember, can anyone tell me the difference between a murder and assassination? I will give a random call one by one. Devadarshini, not four. Unmute your mic and answer. What is the difference between a murder and assassination? Both refer to a death of a man. What is the difference? Okay, anyone who knows the answer, you can unmute your mic and give your name and answer. Anyone? I'll wind up in 5 minutes. Anyone?
Murder
If anyone
means
knows the answer.
especially for political reasons.
Murder.
Killing a
Unmute.
king.
Give your name. Give your name.
Meenakshi, sir.
Meenakshi, tell me. Yes, please proceed. Murder refers
Killing
to.
especially for political reasons, sir.
Okay. Okay. What about assassination?
Sir, Veena Shruti, sir.
Okay, Veena Shruti, please go ahead.
I'm not sure, sir, but let me guess.
Yeah, please, please. No, nothing wrong about making guesses. I just need answers.
Murder is a single person killed someone, sir.
Murder. Okay.
Assassination, a group of people kills a single man.
Okay. 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 I don't want to comment on right or wrong answers. One part is right. Okay, that is murder and assassination refer to killing of people. No doubt about it. But if an ordinary man is killed, like me, just take for example, if anyone kills me, it is only a murder. If a VIP is killed, that is called as an assassination. சாதாரண மனுஷனை கொன்னா அது கொலை, ஒரு விஐபியை கொன்னா அது படுகொலை. Because VIPs' lives are more precious than ordinary people's lives. There is a beautiful saying by Shakespeare himself. All are equal, but some are more equal. Look at the words again. All are equal, but some are more equal. That means there are people, there is no equality in the world. Please remember, if anyone says that there is equality in this world, in this particular aspect, can you show me in one aspect of the society, can you find equality? There is no equality here. It cannot be an ideal world like that. There is no equality even in religious places like temples or churches or mosques. How can you say that, sir? Can a rich man and a common man can go in the same way to have a darshan of the God? There are separate queues. Common man darshan, common darshan, and then special darshan, and then VVIP darshan. There are so many queues are there. That is the class divisions or social divisions we used to have. So in this world, there is nothing world called equality. And what happens in a tragedy? We'll see the tragedy, the qualities of a tragedy in the next class. Since it is almost 1 o'clock and 1:05, let me come to the end of the session. Let me have a quick recap of the Elizabethan period. You may be thorough of the Elizabethan period, about the Queen Elizabeth's rule, the period which she ruled, how England flourished during her period, cultural aspects, artistic aspects, romanticism, realism, right? How long did she rule, her parentage, and what happened to the economic condition of the period. I also talked about the bubonic plague and the pneumonic plague, which had the Black Death period, and then in the period in which England was affected by plague, and the social backdrop, religious backdrop of Puritanism, impact of Puritanism, as well as the Protestantism, and judicial system, the law system, the parliamentary system, and I also discussed the judicial, religious, political and social conditions along with the economic conditions of the age. These are the things which we might keep in our back of our mind in order to understand the text or the plays of Shakespeare in a better way. Okay, is it clear now? I am dealing with actually 2 units, right? One is for Macbeth, another one is for Merchant of Venice. So one by one, we can get into the plays one by one. Which play shall we start first? A comedy or a tragedy?
Comedy.
Okay, The Merchant of Venice. So from next class, from Monday onwards, you will be having a new timetable schedule. And through this class, I just make a note. Monday, you won't be having any classes. Since faculty members have a meeting with the principal and we have a FDP, Faculty Development Program, with 4 resource persons from our college, all your classes on Monday will be suspended. You will be having a fresh timetable that will be shared in your WhatsApp as well as in Google Classrooms. Some students have not yet joined the BA English class, Google class. So don't forget to join that. Enroll yourself in the Google class using the code I shared in the WhatsApp group. Enroll yourself. Very soon you will be also getting your ANJAC online Google password. That is the institutional ID. Institutional ID will be separately created for all the 5,000 students of our college, and there won't be any problem in easily logging in or logging out of the classes. Soon we'll be having it. Now it is a time for question and answer session. If you have any doubts, you can please raise your questions one by one, or if you want, you can chat in the chat box also. I am ready to take up questions now, or one by one, you give your name and then give your question. Let us have the question and answer session now. Yes. Any doubts? Students?
No, sir.
If you have any doubts, you can feel free to ask me. Any
No doubts,
questions in the chat box? Are you clear with the Elizabethan era now? The backdrop of the Elizabethan age, the religious, political, social, and economic conditions of the age are very, very important to understand the plays of Shakespeare. Any other doubts?